Hey guys, Alek Ackerman here with Aston Martin Uptown Toronto. We have a really special day ahead of us. Today is the day we're going to order our very final allocation for the all-new DBS Superleggera. But I'm going to need your help. I've been mulling over for the last 2 weeks how we're going to spec this final car. It's a very special one for us. But we're going to need your help to help us choose ultimately which direction we take the new DBS Superleggera. So, that being the case, I want to show you the two different designer specifications that I had been mulling over. Alright, starting off, here we are at the main screen of the Aston Martin configurator. We're going to go into build your own DBS Superleggera because the configuration that I have in mind for each of these is incredibly bespoke. So, the first vehicle, I want to start off with a very, very light color. I was thinking about using a white vehicle as the configuration. Now, Aston Martin has a whole series of different whites, Lunar White, we also have Stratus White, Morning Frost White, and Morning Frost and Lunar we've done in past. But with Vantage they introduced an entirely new color, which is called White Stone. White Stone is almost like, if you're familiar with Audis, like a Suzuka Gray, but it's even a little bit lighter. It's very, very, very close to white, but it's got a little bit of gray in it and a lot of metallic. I think this color will look absolutely incredible on the DBS Superleggera and give it a very Stone Trooper-esque look. So, once we have this beautiful color, we move on and into the exterior body package. Now with the DBS Superleggera, Aston Martin gives us two different options, both of them with carbon fiber. As standard, the front and rear of the vehicle are going to come with carbon fiber splitters and diffusers. There's an option to go with a new style, which is the dark tinted or black tinted carbon fiber. Now, for me, this kind of takes away a little bit from the exterior appearance on the car. The entire idea of paying extra to have carbon fiber that looks like it's black, if I'm getting carbon, I want it to look like carbon. So, with both vehicles, I'm making an actual strategic choice on them to do full regular carbon, just to show off how much carbon fiber there comes with the new DBS Superleggera. So, we're going to leave it there as the regular carbon. Next, we have the taillights. So there's an option to have these smoked. I know on a lot of the configurations that we've done in past, that looks fantastic. So I'm going to leave them smoked on this car. After that, we have the Bonnet Louvers. So the Bonnet Louvers on the DBS Superleggera are massive and really, really cool. But having said that, there is an option for a carbon fiber vent that sits on top of them. I'm not a fan. I like being able to see right into that engine bay, and I like how simple it is, especially with the Superleggera lettering that sits right next to it. So that being the case, we're going to leave it just as the regular bonnet vent. There's another option in here for side louvers. Now, being one of the first people to actually see this car up close and personal, this section of the side of the vehicle is very, very technical. And we were talking about this in training. There's potentially a chance of rocks getting thrown up through that small section as you're driving on the road. This being the case, I'm very, very cautious about ordering this section in carbon fiber because I don't want to have any damage done to my car. And again, that being the case, we're going to order it in the regular plastic. Next, we have the mirror caps. Got to go big on this case because it shows off such a nice clean line on the side of the car. Here we're going to go with the regular twill gloss black painted carbon fiber. Next we have the actual roof section. So I want this to be a full carbon fiber roof. It's two stages in ordering. The first is the actual roof section and the second is the roof strake. After this we have the wheels. So the wheels are very, very technical and there are so many cool options with the wheels on DBS Superleggera. Now, the one that really caught my eye was the one in my video with Matt Becker. This is a really cool black wheel, and on the configurator it may just look black, but what you notice when you see it in person is the outside of the wheel itself is in this beautiful gloss finish, and the inside of the wheel is in a really nice satin finish. So if it's imaginable, it's a two-tone black wheel, which creates a lot of depth that typically we would lose with black wheels. I think it looks absolutely sick on this car, and that is why we're gonna order it. Now, brake calipers. This is gonna give you an indication of where we're gonna take the design on this car. We're gonna go with the red brake calipers. Next, we have the badging on the car. Gonna leave this. There is an option to have a special machine carbon fiber badge, but on this particular car, I really just wanna have that classic Aston Martin wing badge. Another thing to note about that actually is you can change that once the vehicles arrive at the dealership. We can always order a carbon fiber badge and install it after the vehicles arrived. Under bonnet, so there's the option for that beautiful under bonnet gold package that was first introduced on the DB11 V12. You may have seen that on one of my past videos where we did 18 karat gold all through the under bonnet of the car. Again, not to detract away from the core values of this car, I've decided to leave that one out. Now, here's where things get really interesting. The environment split for the interior. I want this car to be a tone-on-tone car with very, very few things outside of shades that actually show off the interior. So this being the case, I'm gonna use the duotone environment, which we'll select here, and we're gonna use Caithness leather. As the main seating surface here, we're gonna use obsidian black. And the main seating surface isn't really the main seating surface. They call this surface area 1. What it basically is the sides of the seats and the back of the seat. It'll all be in a beautiful obsidian black. Next, the actual center section of the seat, or seating environment 2. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna use something that is very, very, very rarely used. We're gonna go white, and I mean properly white. Aston Martin offers ivory. Ivory isn't quite white. The closest one that they offer to white is a color called cream truffle. And this cream truffle I have never ordered before on an Aston Martin, and I'm super excited to do so on this car. So we're gonna order the cream truffle. Next, welting. Now, never before in my previous specking videos have I gotten into welting because it's never been an option until now. What a welt is a section of leather that sits between two other sections of leather. So basically this can be used as an accent piece surrounding the two portions of leather. So between area 1 and area 2, you can have a welt. Now, DBS Superleggera is the first time we've offered a welt since back in the DB9 era. I'm super excited about this, and this is how we're gonna really accent the car. Again, I mentioned I wanted to do a tone-on-tone interior, but my thought process was using the design inspiration of a Bond villain, Le Chiffre, for this. Very, very black and white, everything in this guy's life, but one cool thing about this villain is he cries blood. So, that being the inspiration, we're gonna do a contrast, and we're going to welt with vivid red. So, black on the outside, white on the inside, vivid red for the welt line on the middle between the two of them. And it creates this beautiful accent on the seats. Next, we have quilting. So the quilt work, which is optional for the DBS, is absolutely must on this configuration to really just drive it out of the park. It's called triaxial quilting. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna quilt the entire center section of the seat in this beautiful triaxial quilt. Now we have the embroidery options for the seats themselves. There we go, all loaded in. Beautiful, the contrast quilt. Now the thing here is all that quilt work will be stitched in a vivid red stitch. Vivid red is even more exuberant than spicy red, which we did previously on the DB11 Volante. It is the absolute most bold red that we can do at Aston Martin. And the reason that I'm doing it on this particular car again is because it's a really small piece of the interior. We're gonna go super extravagant. So now that that's in, we have the actual embroidery. I wanna have the DBS logo instead of the Aston Martin logo, and I want that embroidered in the center section of the seats. Because again, I think that's gonna really set it off. It's almost like a plaque that this thing is gonna be placed on, that beautiful white. So let's talk about that roof liner now. So the options for the roof liner is you can do a straight up Alcantara roof liner, which is very, very simple. You can also do Alcantara in a color. So you can do the whole thing in red, for example. You can do match to seat with no detailing. So what they mean by that is you can do white on the inside, black on the outside, but with no quilt work. The final option is the most expensive option, and as you can imagine, that's the one I want to go with, which is leather matched to seat and with detail. So when we select this, it's going to be black on the outside, white on the inside, surface area 1, surface area 2, and then with actual vivid red contrast stitching and welt lines on the roof. stupid amount of extra work that goes into this. You're probably like 10 or 11 hours in quilting, but in person, it's gonna look completely off the charts. Now let's talk about the trim inlay. So the trim on this car has to be carbon, but we don't wanna go too out there. So that being the case, I'm gonna go with the twill carbon fiber, which will run the whole center of the center console and also the whole center of the door frames on the car. Next, we have the option for seat back veneers. So you remember when we configured the DB11 Volante, there was an option where we could do carbon fiber on the rear of the seats. Now they've extended this option to the DBS Superleggera as well. Now, I personally believe because there's so few instances you would actually see this, it's not something I want to do on this car, and I'm going to save a few extra dollars on that I'll intelligently use on other things to really drive the configuration home. So we're going to leave that one out. Next though, we have the interior jewelry pack. So I remember I said I was just gonna save that money. I'm pretty much about to spend it now. So with this, we have a new option for dark chrome carbon fiber satin air vents. Yes, please. They go all through the center console and they look absolutely tremendous, and it really adds to the interior effect. After this, we have the option for our sound system. As you know, in a vehicle of this price point, we have to have the big boy audio. We're going with Bang & Olufsen. After that, we have the option for cabin carpets. Here, I want to leave it very subtle. You can imagine if we had red carpets or white carpets, it would seem very bright. I want to just leave it black. There's an option to match the boot carpets to the actual carpets on the inside of the car. So for example, if you were to order a red carpet, you could actually have it matched. That does look really tasteful. I recommend you do that actually if you go with a contemporary carpet color. Next, we have floor mats. We're going to go with the heavy pile floor mats with a matched Environment 2 bindings. This is leather that runs around the outside of it. And because it's matched to Environment 2, it means that it's gonna be cream truffle binding with red contrast stitching, even for the floor mats. I'm so pumped about this configuration if you guys couldn't tell already. And finally, one of the last big things on the inside is the seat belts. So I want to do spicy red seat belts. I think that'll be the final kind of stroke in this incredible accented interior. And you can see it really just adds to the overall in the interior. After this, we have the steering wheel. So the option for the carbon fiber steering wheel has now been extended to the DBS Superleggera. And whereas it is very expensive on the Vantage, on a vehicle in this price point, it's a no-brainer. You gotta do the carbon fiber steering wheel. When we opted on for it, it just adds this beautiful texture to the inside. A little known fact is it also adds carbon fiber paddle shifters. So now we have a fully carbon fiber interior, and I think in person this car will be outstanding. Sill plaques, they've actually added this in as an option now where you can actually type in your name and have it actually put right into the door sills. This looks fantastic, but we're gonna leave it out for now. There's some options here for seat adjustability and technology, but for the time being, we really just wanna show you guys how this first spec is gonna look. So I'm gonna breeze past all of these things here until we get to the final configuration, and we can show you what we have. Just absolutely stunning. So here we have our DBS Superleggera option 1. I think this would be an incredible vehicle when it actually arrives. That idea of doing very tone on tone, where essentially the vehicle is all monotone, almost Stormtrooper-esque, and then on the inside, things start to liven up, but in a very different way. It livens up almost as if the car is weeping blood from the seat belts, from the contrast stitching, and that incredible hexagonal pattern that's on the inside everywhere that you look. It's very unique, very different, and ultimately, this configuration is entirely different from any of the designer specifications that Aston Martin's own individual design team has put together. This one is my own baby. So, option 2. So option 2 is really cool. And it's very popular, I would say, in Europe right now, but this trend hasn't really made its way across to North America. What I wanna do is I wanna do a British Racing Green DBS Superleggera, but hold with me and bear with me on this one. Aston Martin offers a whole host of different greens. So technically this is not a British Racing Green, an official British Racing Green. It's an Aston Martin Heritage Racing Green, which is very similar to the colors that you would have seen on Jaguars from the 1960s, like the XKSS, Spitfires from World War II. It is a almost fully non-metallic green with a gloss coat on the outside of it. Now, to get this, we would have to go beyond the standard color palette of what Aston Martin offers on the DBS Superleggera and go into the Q palette, which is more expensive. But I think you may agree with me on plan B. This car looks really, really cool. So, starting off, we're gonna go to Q palette. Here we have AM Heritage Racing Green. Yes, please. So here it is on the car. Immediately, you can tell this is not your run-of-the-mill British racing green. The way it actually looks across the car is very special. Now, I've seen a couple people in Switzerland who've configured these cars in past. One particular customer did it on a DB11 V12, and it went all over Instagram and became very, very trending. I think it looks cool. More recently, a very similar color to this was configured on a Lamborghini Huracan Performante in the United States. And again, I think it looked the business. So, that being the case, I'd like to render one of these as a potential option for our next DBS Superleggera. Now that we have the paint color, let's talk about the carbon. Now here, remember I talked last time we did the regular tinted carbon? This time I don't want to let anything distract us from the actual color from the car. So with that, I'm going to actually do the black tinted carbon. When you look at it very, very closely, you will still be able to see that it's carbon. It's just tinted very, very dark to the point where you can hardly see it. We're gonna still stick with those smoke tail lamps, and we're gonna stick with the black meshes on the front. I'm a big believer of those black meshes. The side louvers will also leave black, and the mirror caps, we're gonna do carbon along with the roof, and the carbon fiber gloss black tinted roof strakes. The wheels on this one, I think we should do the 5-spoke alloys. The 5-spoke alloys are available with a textured finish. When we do the textured, they create this really interesting titanium effect. They're satin in finish and they are beautiful. Next, brake calipers. Now this one I was really tossed up at. I didn't know if we should do the red ones or the yellow ones. Truth be told is, you can pretty much do anything you want with them. Now, because we have a little bit more room to play around with the price points on these DBSs, I think what we're actually gonna do is a little bit out there. We're gonna do Madagascar orange painted calipers. Yes, those look really slick. Maybe we'll do the bronze anodized though. How do these look? Even better, 100% bronze anodized all day long. Now we're gonna move through badging. We're gonna leave that just as the regular chrome badge. We're not gonna do the carbon fiber badge again. This particular instance, because of the green with the gold, we've got to do the gold under bonnet jewelry package. So 18 karat gold lined carbon fiber hood with a gold reservoir cap and also a gold winged badge that sits atop the engine. Now we move to the interior. All right, so here's where we're gonna really have some fun. We have the option for the monotone and also the duotone environments. Again, I'm gonna do the duotone here to really set off this interior. We're gonna start with the leather material again. We're gonna use the Caithness because Caithness offers us the most distinct and unique options for interior colors. Next, we have the base color. Again, I really wanna start off with something that's neutral. So in this case, instead of obsidian black, we're gonna actually use pure black. Pure black has a little bit more of a metallic fleck to it. It has a bit of a shimmer. I've done this in vehicles in past and it creates, again, a very nice look. Next, we have the accent color. So we've gone with accent of almost like a champagne or gold for the colors of the brakes, and we have gold under bonnet. So to create this really, really rich texture to the interior, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do, not California Poppy, not Sahara Tan, where's my, here it is, Copper Tan Metallic. The reason we use Copper Tan Metallic is it is a metallic leather. Metallic leathers come with a very, very unique fleck to them. So when you actually look at it very closely, they have a metallic like a car would. Next, we have the welt. We're not gonna welt this interior. It's gonna be very simple. Followed with the quilting. Again, to keep it simple, we're not gonna have any quilt work with this particular example. We are, however, gonna add the heated and ventilated seats. Everybody in this climate has to have the ventilated seats these days. Even in Canada, it gets pretty hot here in the summertime. Anyone from Ontario will tell you. After this, we have the embroidery and bossing options. So with this, I'm gonna have the DBS logo embossed into the seats. So instead of embroidering, the emboss is much more subtle. Essentially, it's just actually into the leather itself. For wearing, it'll wear just like embroidery, but again, because there's no color on color, it'll sort of fade more so into the interior. We don't want to draw too much attention to that. We simply want it to be there. Next, the roof. Again, just like the previous one, we're gonna do match the seat. So on the inside and the outside of the seat, it'll match to the roof line. However, on this particular example, because there's no quilt work, there's no option to have the roof quilted. It'll simply have the detailing, the basic detailing of the seats matched to the roof. After that, we have the trim inlay. Here, I already have what I want in place, and that is satin chopped carbon fiber. So this is a really interesting idea, having the satin carbon fiber that's this beautiful and very, very unique pattern matched to this very almost elegant interior. I think it's going to create something that's both trendy and then also on the flip side, very elegant. After this, we have the seat back veneers. You guys know how I feel about the seat back veneers on coupe. We're going to leave that one out. Interior jewelry package. This one we're going to leave as dark chrome. I don't want a conflict between two different types of carbon fiber on the inside of the car. Audio system, you gotta love the Bang & Olufsen. After that, we're gonna have the cabin carpets, and in this particular case, we're still gonna leave them as obsidian black. Obsidian black and jet black, the only difference between the two of those is not the tone, but the actual texture of the leather, so we'll leave that. Boot carpet, we don't have to make any adjustments there. Floor mats, no adjustments there either. We do have the option to have the detail around the outside, but because there's less detail on it, I don't think it's worth the extra. Seat belts, we're gonna leave that as well. The steering wheel, we're gonna leave as the sports steering wheel. So this is a square steering wheel with leather on the top and bottom, Alcantara on the sides. Sill plaques we're gonna leave out, and we're basically gonna breeze through the rest of these options as there are very, very small details that won't overall affect the design of the car. And we get to our final second option. Talk about a different take on the DBS Superleggera. I think option 2 really shows off Aston Martin's heritage, but at the same time shows it in a very contemporary and unique way. This may not be as trendy for the time being, but vehicles like DBS are most often purchased by trailblazers, and this is definitely going to turn heads wherever it goes. There's no question about that. So now it's up to you guys. You've seen our two configurations. You've had a look over all the details on each of them. Which one do you guys like better? Drop in the comment section below everything that you think about the configurations. I want to know it all. And when we have an ultimate deciding factor on which one is the more popular vote, we're going to order it. And more and above than that, we're going to show you every step of the way, from the day that we place the factory order right to when the actual vehicle arrives. And then we're going to give you a tour of the car once it's here at the showroom at Aston Martin Uptown Toronto. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the next one.